Hey, I'm Andrew Hales. Welcome to another edition of Chatting With. I'm here with Will.
Hey, what's up, man?
Thanks for being here.
Thanks, good to be here.
Well, I've known Will for a few years now. He's my financial advisor, and he is also a Columbine survivor.
I am, yeah.
How old are you? How old were you?
So I am 35, and I was 15 when it happened, so it's about almost 20 years.
15. Sophomore. Did you know the shooters at all?
I didn't know them personally, like I wasn't friends with them, we didn't talk, but I was aware of them, and that they were these guys at our school that wore trench coats to school every day, even when it was hot. You know,
They were the only ones that wore trench coats?
There was a group of them, maybe like 10 or 15 guys, but they were a part of that. There were girls too, you know. But it was a decent sized group of kids at our school.
Were you friends with any of the victims?
I was, yeah. There's 12 students that died, one teacher, and then probably another 30 or so kids that were shot that didn't die. And so everybody knew several people, you know.
You were in the lunchroom?
Yeah, so let's step back a minute. I was in a classroom and I was taking a test. And it was a test on a book called The Cannery Row by Steinbeck, and I just finished it. I don't remember anything about the book or the test. But I went from there to my lunch hour, and I met one of my buddies. We actually saw one of the shooters walk by us, but we didn't even think anything of it. And then we went down, grabbed our lunch, and sat there. And then we were eating outside. So there's this hill outside, and we just ate at the bottom of the hill and leaned against the wall of the school.
Okay.
And then...
So you kind of had a head start.
Except for when the shooting happened, I went back inside.
Oh, okay.
And the shooting actually started outside the school.
Oh.
So, I could tell you a little bit of how it started. So these shooters, they were planning on blowing up the entire school. And so they were going to shoot people as they walked out of the school. And then the bombs that they had put inside the cafeteria didn't go off. And so they were like, okay, let's just start shooting people. And so they stood on the top of this hill by where I was at, and they shot a couple of kids on the top of the hill. And for me, it was just oh, I heard these firecrackers. Let's go see what is going on with this senior prank.
Yeah.
And so I ran to the hill and then looked up, and I saw them shooting, and I'm like, oh crap, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
So then after that, where'd you go?
So I saw somebody get shot probably 5-6 feet away from me, and he just dropped to the ground.
On the hill?
Yeah, just at the bottom of the hill.
Wow.
They were kind of walking in front of me, this group of 5 or 6 kids, and of that group, 3 of them I for sure got shot.
Wow.
And he just dropped to his knees, immediately started screaming and just swearing, and I was like, holy cow,
man,
I need to get out of here.
Yeah.
So I just turned around, and that wall behind me, there was a door just a little bit down the way, so I just ran into that door. And I go
into the school.
Into the school. And it was peaceful in there actually still. You know what I mean? Nobody had any idea there was a shooting going on. And so the first person I saw was my track coach. And so I just ran to him and was like, hey, Mr. Sanders, there's a shooting going on. And
he was like, okay.
No, he was on it.
Okay.
From the get-go.
Oh, good.
I ran into another buddy of mine, and I was like, hey, there's a shooting outside. And they're like, BS, Will. We don't believe you.
Wow.
You know? And I was like, grabbed his tray and slammed it down. I was like, hey, dude,
yeah,
and he's
make it clear, yeah. I'm not joking.
Yeah, this is not a joke.
Oh my God.
And so from there we ran to a bathroom that was behind the cafeteria. And my whole thought was if I just hide this out, that somebody will shoot these guys, or they'll run out of bullets or whatever. And so ran to the bathroom, and
by yourself?
There's a group of 3 of us.
Okay.
And so we got up on the toilet seat, trying to hide in there so they couldn't see our feet. And then we were just sitting there. So.
How long did you wait there?
Well, I immediately said a prayer to myself, Heavenly Father, please help me to get out of this situation. And I felt like I had a really clear impression after a second, like that I needed to get out of there.
Okay.
And so I walked out, and that was like the scariest moment of my whole life, is when I'm like, I feel kind of safe in here, and I have no idea what's outside that door.
Yeah.
And so having to go out and just like walk out and see what was going on.
And so then you guys made it, and you walked out, and did you see the shooters anywhere? Or?
No, so when we walked out, there was a back door to the stage right by the bathroom, and like literally the second we got out, that door popped open, and one of the teachers from in there walked in and said, "Hey, come in here." And so we walked in there, and it's like a back door that goes up onto our stage and then into our auditorium. And so we walked up the auditorium, and then had like another door that we were like, when the shooting's happening, like you think like you'd be like racing and running everywhere, but like we were like going like slow and trying to like hide, and you know.
Yeah.
And so as soon as we got to the auditorium, like upper door, we kind of peeked out, and then we heard like bullets again, and so we were like waiting, and then we like ran across the way to get to an exit out of the school. And so we exited the school like completely on the other side from where I went in, and then from there it's like a half mile to a apartment complex, and we just kind of like booked it and called our parents from there.
From the hill to them killing themselves, how long did that all last?
It's about an hour and 15 minutes or something like that.
That's kind of a long time.
Yeah, I mean, it like totally changed the way that they go after school shootings.
Yeah.
Because they thought, let's build a perimeter around the school, and then we're gonna like wait for them to come out.
Right. They didn't like, because back then they didn't know what to do.
No. And it was like pretty sad. I mean, so that teacher I told you about, he got shot.
The track coach?
One of my friends saw him, and they dragged him into a science classroom and like kind of like tried to like perform first aid on him and like stop the bleeding. And then they even like put a sign out on the window of the classroom that was like, "Hey, one person bleeding to death. Like, we need help."
Yeah.
And like nobody came. You know, it was like 3.5 hours till somebody came into that.
So 12 students and one teacher. He was the teacher?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It was pretty traumatic too, because I saw his, like I was pretty close to him. He was my track coach. I had him for keyboarding. I had him for business. And like he always talked about his daughters. And I saw his daughter the next day, and I was like, "Hey, you know, what hospital is your dad in? I want to go visit him, because I know he got shot." And then she's like, "I don't know. Like, we haven't been able to find him." You know, so it was just like a complete chaos. Nobody knew who the victims were, who had actually like shot for like 2 or 3 days. They didn't announce anything, and
wow,
they're just trying to like, it was a war zone in there.
He was at some hospital, but they didn't know, they couldn't find him.
Well, ultimately, he was dead in there, and the people that were dead, like they didn't take to hospitals like right off the bat. You know, I mean, they like took him to like a funeral home or something. You know?
Yeah, like autopsies.
Yeah.
Process. Yeah. School, they paused school for a few days.
2 weeks, yeah.
2 weeks.
Our school was kind of like, I mean, they set off bombs. Like during that hour, they would go like Molotov cocktail bombs and throw them. They had pipe bombs that they set off. They were like really destroying the school. The fire alarms had all gone off, and so like the school's completely flooded. Like it needed a serious like remodel. But there was a school that was like our rival high school. They just went to school from like 7 to 12, and we went from like 12 to 5 or something like that.
Okay, so then you said you had therapy?
Yeah, I did some therapy. They had some therapists like come to the church that I went to and like talk to people, and we did like group sessions initially. And I like talked about it a little bit, but I was also like pretty raw, and I didn't want to like go into it a whole lot with somebody I didn't know, and so like I found like talking in these group sessions was like pretty good for me at the time. And then probably like 1.5 years later or so, I like started seeing somebody like one-on-one to try to help me deal with things. Like 1 year later in school, like I was struggling a little bit in terms of just like caring about school that much, and just struggling, because you go through this time, man, where it's like, hey, like school's important, homework's important, and then all of a sudden you're like, actually I don't care about that. I just care about like hanging out with my friends. Like it just changed some of where my values were at the time. And some of that's like appropriate, but some of it like is like, hey, some things still matter. And so, and I got into like a couple of like fights and got like suspended, which was like really out of my character and probably out of what you expect my character to be today, you know. And I just, you know, just needed to work on a few things. So that was like the hardest thing that I'd ever been through to that point, you know. Like it was like a real like turning point in my life where I had to decide to like not give up. And when I go through hard times now, I just think, hey, I'm not afraid. I've been through way worse than this, and like no matter what life throws at me, it's like I can beat this, you know. I got over that, and I was 15 years old, you know. Another thing too is like friendships and relationships are like really important to me. You lose somebody when you're a kid, you know, and it's like super painful, you know. And I don't even know if you're ready at that age to like deal with that kind of loss, you know. And so today I love my friends, like they're a big part of my life, you know. It shows you like how fragile life is, you know, like how special it is to be able to like just take a breath, because like when that person's gone, like they're gone, you know. And you just gotta like appreciate the moments and the memories and the time together, and just hold on to that forever. Like I like writing in a journal, just like little memories I have of people, even if it's just something silly, just so I'm like, I want to be able to remember that person forever, you know. One message that maybe I'd like to share, like how I felt like I like got over the pain with Columbine, you know, is like so often we look at like, oh, I'm struggling, I'm hurting, what can I do for myself? And when I went on a mission like for my church, you know, to go out and like teach people about Jesus Christ, but a lot of it was like service. That was the best thing that ever happened to me, because I stopped thinking about myself and my problems and my frustrations. I was able to like try to help other people. And so I think anytime where we're feeling pain, if we can kind of turn that around to like, what can I do for somebody else? That's, you know, the best way to make yourself feel better and kind of move your life ahead. And I think too, like, you know, live for the people that went before us. Like, I think of the kids like every year, you know, on the 20th, I think of like each individual kid and like the opportunities that they didn't have. Like, oh, he didn't get to go to college, he didn't get to have a kid, he didn't get married, you know, didn't have a girlfriend even for some of these kids, you know. And I'm like, I just need to live my life to the fullest, to like kind of live for them, because it's a waste. Like if you get to have your life and these kids didn't, and you like don't do anything with it, you know. So I just try to live my best life for the people who couldn't.
Well put. Thank you so much for being here.
Dude, thanks for having me. It's good to see you again.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I will see you next week.